Jay here, welcome to Miles Memories Weekly, episode 270. Miles Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where we're talking about painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 videos a week. How? Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, Games Workshop showed off the datasheets of some of the new units coming with the 11th edition Armageddon launch box, and they're looking pretty darn spicy. I've been chomping at the bit to get a look at some of these new Armageddon units coming for the Orcs and the Space Marines. One in particular, the War Track, has got me really excited because I am a bike connoisseur. The Orc War Biker is a phenomenal unit in-game. It's a phenomenal kit. I have 7 or 8 copies of it that I've put together over the years. I love me some War Bikers. And they've changed around a little bit in the history of Warhammer 40,000. You used to be able to attach an Orc War Boss on bike, and now there's a new unit called the Orc on Trike. What is he called? The Orc War Boss on Snaz bike? It's something like that. But he's okay. He helps out a little bit in melee, and also he gives them +1 to hit like a typical War Boss. So he's like a good include for 80 points. A little bit steep, but worth it for a squad of War Bikers. But the War Track looks like it might be the new fun option. Number 1 is just a cute little guy, toughness 6, 7 wounds with a 4-up save, a 6-up invul, and objective control 3, which is actually really nice. If you were running this guy solo, he would be able to beat out like a Space Marine lieutenant with combi weapon on an objective. Like already, he's looking pretty darn spicy. He's got some actually good guns. He's got the classic custom shooter, which is you see on all of the different Warbiker kits. It's 2 shots with rapid fire 2, so basically 4 shots. I think the one that's attached to the bikes is it 2 shots +1 or is it 3 shots +1 for being in rapid fire range? It might be +2. I have to double check with the Warbiker kit. I haven't run my orcs in a hot minute, but that's a decent number of just extra shots. And then the rocket launcher is D3 +3, so on average, like 2 or 3, ballistic skill 5 up, typical orc shooting, strength 10, AP -2, damage flat 3. Flat 3 is really, really good. That means that you're potentially killing Space Marines and Terminators in 1 shot. You're doing decent damage against vehicles. That seems pretty solid. That is a decent number of extra shots to be just shooting out. Its rule is pretty interesting. Indiscriminate detonations. This is a rule that features on some datasheets that already exist in Warhammer 40,000. It's essentially the suppression rule. Space Marine suppressors have this, and I use them all the time. And it basically just gives your opponent a -1 to their hits. And it does look like it is a -1 to hit 4 attacks. So this is in melee and shooting. So if you hit something with this guy, which chances are you will, because he gets 4, 5, 6, about 7 attacks. And even 7 attacks hitting on 5s, you're likely to get at least 1 of those off. So your enemy unit will be -1 to hit. That's really good. That's almost like Death Guard Contagion range, where if you just hit them with a little bit of something, then they're -1 to their hits. So Khorne Berserkers are hitting on 4s, my Black Templar Crusade Squad is hitting on 4s, a lot of things are hitting on 4s, Imperial Guard are hitting on 5s. Like, it's really, really nice to just soften up your opponent before you go in for the kill. This guy seems all around excellent. And then in close combat, he is no slouch. Choppa's 5 attacks, so that means 6 attacks on the Wa turn. 5 attacks hitting on 3, strength 4, AP 1, damage 1. That is really, really good. And remember, if he's attached to a Warbiker squad, then his ranged attacks are getting +1 AP if they're shooting at the nearest enemy target. So there's a lot of synergy happening with this guy, and he can attach 2 Warbikers. He has the support keyword, which is a new ability we're seeing in 11th edition that's going to let things attach, non-character things attached to units, which I'm really, really excited for, because right now in Warhammer 40k 10th edition, there's kind of a character tax on a lot of different things, especially if you're a Space Marine player, where your units are decent, but to make them good, you have to attach characters. And those characters are really expensive, usually between like 50 and 100 points. And so you start slapping characters in all of your units start to get really good, but they start to get very expensive. Like the Warbiker, or the War Boss on Warbike, on War Trike is 80 points, which is already a little bit expensive. If this guy can come in cheaper than that, I feel like this might be a better include than the Warbiker, or the Warbike boss. Like, that, it just seems really, really good. The Invader ATV, which is a very similar unit to this guy, is only 60 points. If this guy is 60 points, he's arguably a little bit better than the ATV, so he might cost a little more. 65, maybe 70. Hopefully he's not pushing any further than 70 points, but I could see this being really good. Like 3 squads of 6 warbikers, 3 of these things slapped on there, giving a little bit of extra shooting, quite a bit of extra punching. If I'm fighting an opponent that doesn't have like a lot of enemy vehicles that I would really care to have those high strength rocket launcher shots against, I might just take the wounds on this thing before I take it on the warbikers so that I just have more really nice, juicy close combat attacks. This thing seems really, really solid. Running it solo, it's fine. I still think their orcs have so many opportunities for taking like cheap little things for scoring. The orc flyboys are really, really good. I think they're also only like 65 points for 5, and they have uppy downy. The, not the Wazboom Blastajet, the Shock Jump Dragsta is actually a really, really nice unit because in its movement phase, instead of advancing, it can just teleport anywhere on the board more than 9 inches away from enemy models. Really solid for scoring those secondary objectives that want you to be in your opponent's deployment zone or at a very specific point on the battlefield. He can just essentially uppy downy to wherever he wants to be. So units like that are probably going to take precedence over running this guy solo, but attached to a squad of Orc Warbikers, I think he's super solid. The War Track has definitely got me really, really pumped to get my Orc Warbikers back out on the table. Just seems overall super solid, super cheap, not like a game-breaking or a super crazy exciting data sheet, but just something really nice that's gonna change how the unit feels a little bit. It's gonna make them a little bit more threatening, a little bit more interesting. I really, really like it. Now, a very similar unit coming for the Space Marines is the new Landspeeder, not to be confused with the old Landspeeder or the Storm Speeders. Still kind of a different thing. This guy is interesting. He's toughness 8 with 9 wounds and a 3 up save. He's actually fairly tanky. A little less tanky than a Rhino, a little more tanky than a Primaris Outrider ATV, quite a bit more tanky than an Outrider ATV. He's got a bevy of guns. He can have the Multi-Melta, which me and my Multi-Meltas, I'm a Black Templar player, so I get Multi-Meltas on my vehicles for essentially free, and they always bounce. 2 Multi-Melta shots hitting on 3s usually means 1 or 2, and then 2 shots wounding on 5s is typically 0. Multi-Meltas, it's really, really hard to make them do their job. But he gets stuff on top of the Multi-Melta. He gets the Onslaught Gatling Cannon or the Heavy Flamer, both pretty decent anti-infantry options. And then the Storm Fury Missile Launcher, which is a las cannon. It just is a las cannon. It's exactly a las cannon in profile. And the las cannon is nice. I would say with 2 Multi-Melta and a las cannon, you have some pretty good threat against heavily armored targets. You'll take off some wounds against most vehicles, probably. It's okay. Then moving into melee, it's just 2 Space Marine Fists, 4 attacks hitting on 3, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. Don't get into close combat, although if he's cheap enough, that might not be the worst option. I think the thing that's really spicy about this guy is movement 14. He's got the movement of an Eldar vehicle. Really incredibly quick, and his abilities, Purgation Run, it can make a normal move after it shoots. It's got shoot and scoot. Actually, it's not a normal move, it is a D6 move that's treated as a normal move. And then you're not allowed to charge afterwards. This is very good. And I will say with that movement 14, you have tons of movement options. So you could zoom across the board and get almost behind a building and then shoot and then hopefully roll at least a 2 and then scooch fully behind that building. That is a really, really nice ability. But his shooting is so inconsistent. Is it really gonna be worth having a couple of these suckers floating around the battlefield, doing not a whole lot? Space Marines are in a little bit of a tricky spot. Our codex is so big and we have so many options, and our units are so expensive that we don't typically mess around with not awesome data sheets. Like data sheets that aren't going to do exactly what I want and need them to do typically don't happen. You know, things need to be able to kill enemy vehicles if I'm taking them to try to kill vehicles. Things need to be able to wipe like a 10-man squad of infantry, whatever infantry that might happen to be. because Space Marines are so expensive. It's so hard to keep our units like sub 200 points each that they need to actually pull their weight. They need to do stuff every single turn. And this is a really, really fun, interesting unit, but I don't see it as something that you can rely on to do much of anything. Now, with that said, if he's cheap enough, then he's just quite a few extra wounds on the battlefield, and he could do a really good job at secondary and maybe a little bit of primary with his objective control 3, snagging objectives. Like, then he might have a little bit of use, because if he can take the place of something like a scout squad or a Inceptor squad that just moving around the board all over the place, there definitely could be something to that. But right now, I don't know, he's looking a little iffy if I would really be super down to include him in a force. He's much better than the Primaris Outrider ATV, which is only 60 points, but arguably the ATV is really good because it's so cheap, and it's just a little bit tougher than your average squad of Space Marines. So he's gonna be more than 60 points. Arguably, he has the same damage output as a Storm Speeder for like 115, I think. The Hailstrike Storm Speeder is the cheapest one at 115 points. And so hopefully he won't cost as much as that. 100 points, although for 100 points, I probably would actually rather have, there's a lot of Space Marine units that are like 100 points. I feel like an Incursor squad, which has given me +1 AP on a bunch of my units and gets that free Melt-A-Mine, like that's a really, really nice include. Reavers are even cheaper than 100 points, and they have precision on all of their attacks. Like there's a lot of stuff in that medium cheap range for Space Marines that I feel like might be looking a little bit more promising than this thing, but it does have a lot of interesting stuff going for it. That Movement 14 is really spicy, and it's been shown off in 11th edition. Things that are able to fly are going to be able to reduce their movement characteristic by 2 and then move straight through terrain. Typically vehicles, even fly vehicles, have had to move around terrain or up and over, and so being able to just go straight through them is really, really good. I would say the new Orc Track is like an A+ data sheet. I really like it. I really think it's interesting. The Land Speeder is also a good data sheet. I feel like Space Marines are just so spoiled for choice and so hamstrung by how many points our units cost. I feel like that one might be a little bit of a trickier one to include. But speaking of Space Marines, I have been working on my Black Templar army, getting it ready for 11th edition to try out some new things. And I put together a little Inceptor squad. I like the Inceptor squad. I put one together with a bunch of plasma guns, and I really like it. They're really nice, big, chunky guys. I love these grav wings on the back. They're big old jetpacks. The only thing I don't love is the guns that come in the kits. They can either have 2 giant heavy bolter pistols, or they can have 2 giant plasma blast gun pistols. And I feel like it looks really bad. There's also weird things that they did to the kit. Like typical Gravis armor arms are a little tiny bit chubbier than regular Space Marine Tacticus armor arms, but only by a little bit. But for some reason, these guys and their pistols, they made their like wrist piece of armor humongous. It's like a little kid's pool floaties. It looks really bad. And so I saw the potential in the Inceptor kits, and I decided I'm going to do whatever I need to make them exactly how I wanted. And so I went on eBay and I bought a whole bunch of heavy bolters from the Heavy Intercessor kit. And so I got 2 heavy bolters that work phenomenally well on the suppressors. And these aren't suppressors, these are Inceptors. Totally different unit. The little hoses, they just tuck right behind into their jetpacks. The heavy bolters look really good. They look so appropriate in their hands. I gave 2 of them heavy bolters, and then one of them I did give the heavy bolter pistol thing from the suppressor Inceptor kit, but I left off the little riot shield, which I think makes it look a little bit better. It is remarkably almost identical to a heavy bolter, even though it's a pistol. And then I was able to give him just a little pointing hand. I feel like this looks so good. I'm really excited to play with these guys because their rules are just so cool. They have the regular Inceptor rule of they can deep strike within 6 inches of an opponent as opposed to 9 inches, which gives them a lot more opportunity to just drop into these little pockets that that will happen during the course of the game. Typically early game, your opponent has the board pretty well blocked off from deep striking opportunities, but as the game goes on, sometimes you get those little 6-inch pockets where 3 of these guys can just drop right in and then shoot all of these bolter weapons. And the bolter weapon profile, it's got sus 2. I repeat, sus 2. Every hit of a 6 is a sustained 2. So that is 3 successful hits. So even if I'm bringing a 3-man squad, 9 shots is typically gonna math out to 9 hits. Really, really solid. And then when you get to the wounds step, they're twin linked. So 9 shots twin linked into the wound, and then AP -1, a little bit sad. AP 1 is a little lame, but then damage 2. So every single one that's going through is killing a Space Marine. I think these guys look like so much fun. On the sergeant of the squad, I gave him some like a Mark V style ankle armor, and I took these little, they're nail art beads, and I bought a whole bunch of these things, and they actually come in a bunch of random sizes, so I actually sifted to get all of the same exact size tiny little glass marble, and it's 1.4, and then I took a 1.4 millimeter drill bit, and I drilled holes perfectly into his leg, and it took a while to get the depth just right so that the ball sunk in just right, and then I couldn't use super glue because it was just too fiddly to get it in there nicely, and so I actually used Elmer's glue and a tweezer, and I picked up the marble and I put it in the hole, and then I ever so slightly squeezed it into the hole. It took a lot of work, but I really like how it looks. I think that 0.4 size ball is just about perfect, and I have a little cup full of them, so when I get some more Space Marines, I'm gonna be able to do this little technique to those guys and make them just a little bit more special. I really, really like these guys, and I actually have another box on the way so I can put together some more. I have more heavy bolters, I got more heavy intercessor arms. I really like this squad. I'm really excited to play with it. I think I've been playing classic close combat Black Templar for a long time, and so I want to take a little diversion and go down a more shooty Space Marine force, and I think these are gonna be really, really good for kind of doing the same thing that typically I would do with Blade Guard Veteran or Crusader Squad, which is just kill infantry units. I think this is gonna be a really, really fun option for infantry killing, and I think 2 squads is gonna be perfect. I'm not going to increase the squad to 6. You can reinforce a 3-man squad to a 6-man squad, but there's nothing that can attach to them, and I don't really have any stratagems in mind that I plan to spend on these guys. Maybe Oath of Moment, but Oath of Moment is target focused, not unit focused. So I think I can really easily just have, even if I want a full 6-man strength of shooting, I can just have 1 squad in front and then like 1 squad behind, and they can all shoot at the same target. And arguably that's better, because then if I get shot back, my opponent will have to pick which squad they want to shoot at. Their shots can't all go into one, or my opponent has to get greedy and split fire, and split firing almost never seems to be the way to go. What always happens is you underperform and you do less damage than you thought you would have against both squads, as opposed to just focusing it all on one. I really, really like these guys. They're almost done. There's just a little bit more I have to do, like I have to put the sand on the bases, and I have to put the nails into the little skulls, but that's gonna be super easy. And then I'm gonna be able to start painting these guys. I want an entire air wing to my Space Marines. Right now, I've got a couple of jump pack assault intercessors, but I want like 2 squads of jump intercessors. I'm gonna get the Vanguard veterans from the new box coming for 11th edition. I'm gonna have some of these guys, and then I'm gonna have some more Gravis guys with heavy bolters from that box. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a really, really fun, shooty Space Marine army with a little bit of Black Templar flair. I don't know that I'll use the Black Templar army rule. It's really, really good, but if I'm not planning on getting into close combat, getting a benefit to my close combat attacks, probably not as necessary as like Oath of Moment. Oh, I really, really like these guys. I've been tinkering away on these guys for like 2 months. Just a little bit here and there some evenings, but they feel really, really good now that they're all put together. Also, another thing that was incredibly hard, but you probably didn't notice, is I actually reposed all of these legs. You can't really tell, and they look about the same, but I'm really proud of it. If you look like closely underneath, you can see that their little groin area is green stuffed, because I did change the positioning of the legs, and no one would ever notice, but I'm really proud of it. I like these guys a lot. I would say my love for these guys is almost as strong as my love of all the amazing hobby products available from EonsOfBattle.com. Over there, we're all restocked on our excellent hobby goodies: Gamer Grass Tufts, Grey Tide Studio Bits for your Space Marines, Army Painter paints, brushes, base and cork, ultra thin and ultra thick super glue, and we've got terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit good for any one terrain pack we've ever made, or the brand new one. New in May, we have created the Cyber City, a set of terrain perfect for any fast-paced war game. These beautiful gleaming buildings are the picture of future affluence, ready to be fought over and on top of. These pieces were designed to give plenty of line-of-sight blocking terrain, with lots of room on top for miniatures to stand on. And with a stacking system, you can build your boards up into the air with lots of catwalks and staircases to let you battle in the third dimension. To sprinkle around the city, there are some sci-fi accessories like the line-of-sight blocking hologram projectors, rooftop doors, and computer terminals, crates, and snack machines, everything a future battlefield needs. This terrain set was designed by us and is available at EonsOfBattle.com. I have been moving heaven and earth to try to make sure that I am ready to rock and roll as soon as 11th edition comes out. I've got my Space Marines, I've got some more units coming from my Space Marines, I've got some more Inceptors coming, I've got that second suppressor squad all done, ready to rock and roll. Hopefully I can get a couple more squads of Assault Intercessors with jump packs ready. I really want to be flying over the battlefield when 11th edition drops. Kind of the nice thing about playing a faction like Black Templars is I get all of the coolness of the Black Templars and my melee proficiency and all of those new interesting units that are specifically for that faction, but I can also have the opportunity to just fall back and play vanilla Space Marines if I need to. Back in the Diz-A, like 6th edition, 7th edition, 8th edition, I was a Black Templar player in color only. I kind of just always played regular Space Marines because they were always so much better than the Black Templars. But now it's an option because Black Templars, they're fine. Hopefully they get a little bit better in 11th edition, but right now they're just okay. And I have the option to go and play regular Space Marines. I also need to put together a couple more Vindicators. I've got one put together, it just needs paint. And then I got one more in a box, which I would like to get that done. I'll get that done exactly at the same time it gets sent to Legends by the Games Workshop rules team. Hopefully that won't happen, but if it does, it'll be the same exact day that I get them finished. Maybe I should get them done sooner rather than later so that I can get a couple of games in before that happens. Thanks for watching.